Have we any apologies? Is there any apologies from David, or do we still think he's coming?
I haven't had any apologies.
I think David's coming. Yeah, no apologies from him.
Right.
He's here. The devil.
He's here now. There's obviously no apologies now because David's arrived. Item 3, the minutes of the last meeting. Would someone like to move them or otherwise? Howard?
Yeah, I'll move.
Brian?
Yeah, I'll second them.
Are there any matters arising from the minutes? No? So can we approve those minutes then? Yeah. Thank you. Declarations of interest? No declarations of interest?
No.
Public forum? There's no public here that I'm aware of. Item 6, year-end update. Do you want to take these A, B, C and D separately or all at once, Gina?
It depends if anyone's got any queries with any of them. If so, we can take them separately. But if you're happy with all of them, then we can just take them as a whole.
Has anyone any queries on? Oh, go on, David.
One quick question. I had a read through your monumental work of item 6C there. There's an awful lot of info in there, lots of heartache and tales of everything that went wrong during the year. Couple of questions then. Paragraph 1. So we had a significant underspend of 268,000, and obviously there's lots of reasons for that. Overall transfer to general reserves 215.
Yeah, that's because the underspend was just to the budget.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously what's transferred to the general reserves is your actual.
Right, got you. Okay. All right. And then let me see. I think all the proposals on each of the items to carry things forward. There's plenty of things in the pipeline, that's for sure. Primmett Community Centre, page 6. All Primmett funds should stay with the community centre, but the remaining surplus be transferred to the Primmett earmark reserves. Is that relating to its original bank account? That the funds they had
have
there?
A separate bank account for Primmett.
Right.
Yeah, so any budget that we set aside for Primmett, if it's not spent in a certain year, we've said that we'll always carry it forward. So rather than carry it forward in the budget, because we don't know what we necessarily might spend it on, I suggest putting it into an earmark reserve so that it can be spent on Primmett at some point.
Right. Okay. Yeah, understand. Yeah, but I think that was all I had. Yeah, I think, and obviously on the neighbourhood plan, we've got bits being carried forward there, so there's plenty of stuff progressing there. The majority of it, thankfully, paid for by the government, of course. So yeah, but no other comments on the big paper, and no other comment. You just talk me through item 6D.
Yes.
Well, the table there. Just explain to me what exactly that shows to me.
Right. So at the top, you've got the value of the general reserves as of year end. So then the budgets that I've said to carry forward, obviously they come out of your reserves. So basically taking all those out, then you're left with the figure of the 116767.
Okay.
Then throughout the year, obviously we did take certain amounts from earmark reserves to pay for certain projects. Yeah. So we had this next section is what we have actually agreed to put back.
Right.
So we had £4,000 for Alkin Coats for the bowling green wall. There was £10,000 taken out of the community development to cover the CCTV at King George's.
Yeah.
And then 15,000 from the playgrounds, also for the CCTV. So that was taken from two different budgets. And then 6,000 from the playgrounds. That was for the mugger fencing at Alkin Coats.
Yes. Yeah.
And then obviously we've said the £5,000 for events for the Halloween decoration. So that was that one.
Okay.
So that basically shows, that's why I put agreed transfers to EMR, because that's what we agreed to do during the
And
year.
we talked about during the year, yes.
And the last one is just my recommendations of what to do with the rest of the reserves, basically.
Right. So there, what we're doing is we're earmarking some of those surpluses to beef up the earmark reserves for those particular projects.
Yes.
So hence all those numbers down the bottom right are the new grand totals of the EMRs.
Yes.
The 35, 90, 10, 10, etc. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. All seems good and prudent. Good places to put them all. You know we've got stuff in the pipeline, so I think there's some good and sensible allocations there.
Yeah, if you remember, part way through the last year, when we wanted some money for the CCTV at King George's, we didn't have a budget with it in. So we said at the time we would take it from reserves, and if we did have a substantial enough underspend at the end of the year, we'd put it back, which is basically what Jean has done with some of these figures there. She's put it back. So reserves-wise, we very nearly stand where we were last year. Yeah. Are there any more comments? Would someone like to move that we accept? Do we need to move them all separate for you, Gina, or are you just happy if we move all lot en bloc?
If you're happy with everything that's been said, then yeah, I'm happy for it. But you can just propose and second the whole lot.
Yeah. Well, I'll move the whole lot then.
I'll second it.
And David seconded it. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 7, budget amendments.
Okay, so these are basically due to the agreed budget that was agreed in December. Obviously, at that point, we still thought we were doing a 4 year's worth of events. However, we did make the decision to cancel all events up until September. So this is basically a rework of that agreed budget, just to better reflect what we will be doing during the year. So has anyone got any questions?
And this also takes into account the shortfall we've got because of the change in the tax base rate as well.
Yes, it does.
Yes. Yeah. Any
Just looks like lots of small numbers with lots of tweaks here and there. So nothing fundamental to concern us, I don't think.
So would someone like to move this report then?
Yeah.
Howard and David are moving it and seconding it between them then.
Take your pick.
Whichever. Yeah. All those in favour? Thank you.
Okay, so I did include a budget summary as well, just to show you what that would look like if all the recommendations were accepted. So I thought I'd just throw that in there just so that you know what it looked like.
Is there any questions on that? No? So are we on to item 8 then? Financial update.
Okay, so this is up to the 27th of April. So what we've got at the start of the year.
Is there anything surprising in there to highlight to us, given it's only the start of the year?
Not in here, but at the moment we have problems with the heating in the town hall.
Another part of the town hall falls apart.
Yeah, not the boilers though, something to do with the electrics. So we're trying to sort it out. It's very cold in there at the moment, but yeah.
Okay.
So that
Wearing extra jumpers, are you? Extra jumpers?
yeah, and we have some small heaters. So, but if we can't get them working again, then that could be a big drain on resources. So yeah.
It is May now. It's quite warm now.
It's not freezing.
I say it's almost time to turn the heating off, isn't it now?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it would be if it was a normal May, but it seems to be quite cold outside still.
I take it when you say it's the electrics, it's the control panel down in the cellar.
It is, yes.
Well, yeah, that is nearly as old as some of us.
I'm going to say it's very old.
I won't include myself in that. It's not as old as me. I had clockwork ones when at my age. But that will be a fair job to do that. But we did know last year at some point it was going to have to be done because it's getting old and creaky.
It is.
Can I ask through you, Chair, how old the actual boiler is itself? Oh, well.
Which one?
It's three.
The
Well,
three.
What's the average age of the boilers then? No, the point I'm trying to get at, if we're going to have to spend money on all the electrics, if some of the other stuff is, I'm trying to think of it, no, broken, I won't use the word I was going to use, it would make sense to look at somebody saying, right, to replace, it may be, I mean, I don't know, presumably the three all heat different bits, do they?
No, actually, they all look the same. But I think one doesn't tend to do much. You put two on, then it pushes it through further, and then obviously all three, then it. But yeah, it's. But I do agree, Howard, that if we are looking at it, we may as well do the whole lot. And
you know, get an expert that knows about these things to give us some proper advice on it, because I know from my working days that all right, it wasn't boilers, it was a compressor, but the same logic applies. You know, you get a more efficient one, and it's surprising how you labour on for so long, a bit then falls off it that you can't readily fix, so you get a new one and you wonder why you didn't bother 10 years earlier, because the extra efficiency now must pay, or if we did change it, would probably pay itself back reasonably quickly.
yeah, they probably are the world's most inefficient boilers, to be honest. They're that old.
Yeah, they won't be efficient. Some of you will remember a previous caretaker we had before, called Peter. Well, when Peter was there, we actually changed the programming on the boilers, because there are three of them, and the three of them that are piggyback together. And if it goes cold enough on thermostat to kick it in, one boiler goes in. If it can't cope, or it goes even colder, the second one kicks in, and then the third one kicks in. So consequently, one boiler does a lot more work than the others, because if it's only a cool day rather than a cold day, only one kicks in. And one was doing all the work, and we swapped the programming around to make one of the others do some of the work to try and make them last a bit longer, and they were getting clapped out then, and that's 10-15 years ago. So they're not efficient ones.
And again now with the modern electrics, you could have probably got that to do itself without having to program it. Once it's run for X hours, it switches itself, not switches itself off. It says, right, number 1 is now number 3 and number 3 is now number.
Yes. Yeah. I think what we need to do at some point, but we'll probably have most of the summer to do it. We need to get some prices and find out which is the best way forward. Depends how much it's going to cost to fix the electrics, and obviously it depends how much it's going to cost to get new boilers in. And we'll have to compare, because if it's going to use less gas, we'll get some money back over a few years, hopefully. So I think at some stage we do need to get some prices, Gina.
The problem comes as well when you need to bleed the system, which evidently usually you spring a few leaks whilst doing so. So
Yeah. So are there any other comments on financial update? So are we just noting that then, Gina?
Can I get a proposal in a seconder?
Yeah, I'll propose it.
I'll second it.
All those in favour? Thank you. Item 9, internal controls document.
So this is just the annual review of this document.
My only question was, what changed?
What changed? Not much.
Good job last year then.
There was a few things about payment, because we did change the financial regulations to change some of the payment limits throughout the year, so they changed.
Yeah.
So it's the payments that can be authorised by the town clerk and the chair of the FES, and the ones that have to be authorised by full council.
Okay.
So they change. The amount that the government pays for section 137 has gone up, so that was changed. Other than that, the amount of cameras we have has gone up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that is about all that has changed.
Okay. In that case, I've got no comments. I note at the end there in 14.2, there's a series of things that are being done around about May, June time. There's bits and bobs in there, which obviously going to come onto our radar shortly. But otherwise, no, I've got no comments.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Only
No.
that with the audit report we got, they're obviously working quite well.
Well, we haven't actually got an item as such for the audit report that Gina sent to us. And what I would personally like to thank Gina for a lot of the work that she's done this year, because it is the first year that we've managed to do the year end, and it's all done and dusted, and already at this, well, just before the end of April, it was all done and dusted and approved by the internal auditors. And I think she's done relatively well there, particularly this year being the first year she's sort of done it without the help of Colin. And I think it's a fair achievement to do that, because now we're getting bigger. It does involve a lot for a council of this size. So I'd like to thank Gina for that, and Katie and Naomi. But what I think we ought to do, and it's something that everyone misses and probably don't even realise, but I realised it because of getting involved, and once or twice I've been at town hall before lockdown when Janet was there from the auditors. And Janet has thanked the officers for being very helpful in coming forward with this information that she asked for, so that they could check everything. And I think we ought to write to Janet, or Gina should, and thank Janet for the help she's given us throughout the year, because throughout the year she has actually given us quite a lot of advice that she possibly didn't need to do. And sometimes we've asked her and said, should we do this or shouldn't we do this? And she has actually been quite helpful to us and said, do it or don't do it. And I think we ought to thank her for that. If someone will second sending those
point.
thanks to the auditors.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Chairman. I think we should.
It ticks a box, and she has been helpful to us. And if she realises we appreciate her helping us, she may carry on helping us in the future, and she doesn't have to do.
No, that's right. I mean, the job of an internal auditor, of course, is to generally be quite nasty. You give them a large document with all those internal controls fully documented. You recognise the fact we're a bigger council than we ever used to be as the precept goes up and the activities go up. So almost like the more you write things down, the more likely they are to try to find things they don't have to tick off. So I think, yes, we should write to them. I noticed as well, the second from bottom item on the internal controls list says that in May we're considering the appointment of the internal auditor as well. So presumably, do we have to do our little annual reappointment of them as well?
Yes, I think we do. I mean, if we obviously, if we're happy with Janet, we just obviously we make sure we book it in now. So I know last year with everything being virtual, she was struggling with timetables and timescales, I think. So, but hopefully next year it'll be a physical one. So.
So do we need to formally note that we're reappointing them, even though it's not on the agenda? How do you want to deal with that?
I don't know. We can do. I'm not sure if we.
When would we normally reappoint them? Be the annual meeting, wouldn't it?
It just says, it says at the bottom of page 10, it says full council via FES annually in May. So I guess we recommend it, do we?
Yes. So
Yeah.
would someone then like to move that we send a recommendation to the annual full council to reappoint them?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Just so everything's correct, can we just see who's in favour of that, and then right. Thank you. Item 10, hybrid meetings.
Right. Yeah, this is basically because I'm sure you're all aware now, the government haven't extended the legislation for councils to do their committee meetings and full council meetings virtually. So from the 8th of May, they have to be held, they have to be physical meetings. Now, because we still have a lot of socially distancing restrictions in place, this basically puts us in an awkward position, and the fact that the council chambers will basically hold 20 socially distanced, which allows you 17 councillors and 3 officers, but then no room for the public or the press, which we are supposed to allow them to attend. So we are proposing that we try a hybrid meeting so that the public can join virtually. In order to do this, we need to purchase some equipment, so a big screen, I think the microphone and a conference webcam and a stand for it. But we think it will work, and I'm thinking that this is a better they're not letting the public attend. I still think we have to be open to the public, and we have to be transparent. So to me, it's, if we do have to adhere to socially distancing restrictions, this is the best possible alternative. So basically, Nathan's had a look and priced things accordingly, and it's basically going to cost us about £700, which in the scheme of things is not much. But it is equipment that we can use for other things as well. So basically just want to hear your thoughts on what you think, and if you want to approve this expenditure for this purpose. Howard.
The problem we've got is that from the 17th of May to the 21st of June, we are still have to observe the, I forget what, it's the 1 metre plus rule for being inside. After the 21st of June, one presumes that everything becomes, in inverted commas, normal. But by law, we have to allow members of the public to watch and attend. And the question of speaking is probably not a strict legal requirement, but we do it through our standing orders. But it's just not possible to fit in people in the council chamber. I can't see that we would fit everybody in the room downstairs. You might get 24 people in rather than 20. And even if we were to try and hire somewhere else, I think we'd still struggle to find someone that would let us in and let us in, hire the building to us, and also find somewhere that's actually big enough to what's the word I'm looking for, to accommodate everybody. I mean, I think it actually shows that the government are a bit out, or not so much the government, but as far as I can see, virtual attendance is still being kept going in the Houses of Parliament for some time, but it's the bit of legislation about local councils that falls this weekend, isn't it? But I do know that there are, from reading things from now, there are meetings going on this week.
They are debating it at the moment, I think.
To try and find a way of making it so that we can actually allow people in. Otherwise, we're rather stymied. From another bit I've gleaned from an email that David Clegg copied me in on, that meetings that aren't subcommittees or meetings with officers or any other sort of meeting is still allowed virtually. So it seems that probably we will be allowed this thing. But I think, as you said, £700 in the grand scheme of things is neither here nor there. And it will be useful in marketing the building. If we suddenly had a huge wedding of, well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds, they could be married in, if they wanted to be married in the mayor's parlour, this could be outside and show everybody on the screen. somebody wants to hire a room for a seminar or an exhibition or something, it will be used. So I don't think it'll be dead money. So I'll propose that we go ahead and buy the equipment.
I think it is likely that the government will concede partly and say you can have a hybrid meeting, but I think they'll stick rigid to the part that any voting member, a councillor, must be actually present at the meeting. I don't think they're going to back down and let some councillors join the meeting remotely. They're not going. Well, they've said they're not going to do that. But Howard is right, because we looked into this at the beginning. It would be a good selling point for renting out and hiring out our room. Because if it is on a trolley, it'll easily go in the lift. It can go downstairs in downstairs room. We can have it upstairs. And I think it's a good selling point because if somebody wants to hire the room to do a seminar or a training course or something, we could offer them the facility of being able to use the big screen to put it up on. And I think it'd be quite easy to allow people to speak from home into the meeting, still using Zoom, and show them on the big screen. And we'd be able to see them. Also, from the planning applications point of view, I think we'd be able to see a lot better on a screen, particularly when lights are on in room, on a screen rather than doing it on a projector. And I think it'll be a step forward, and it's not a lot of money. And I know there is going to be a time lag in between ordering this, what we want, and actually getting it and getting it in place, and Nathan getting it up and running. And we really do need it up and running for the annual council if we can. So I think we ought to go ahead and approve it tonight, and let's get the stuff ordered and get it in place. David.
How big is the screen, by the way?
Is it 65-inch, Nathan?
Yeah, 65-inch.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's the sort of thing you get in big meeting rooms, isn't it? So yeah, that's fine. So a member of the public who wants to speak joins via Zoom, and they appear on the screen, so we can watch them. Do they see us back?
We will be live streaming, so
they have to watch it on YouTube whilst doing Zoom.
I think, or will they?
There's no camera.
Well, I think we'll have I think they'll be able to see. There will be a camera.
Yeah.
They'll be able to see all the councillors in Nathan. Do you know?
Yeah. So when they join through Zoom, the TV will be linked to Zoom. So the councillors will be able to see the member of the public, and the member of the public will be able to see the councillors. Which is why we're looking at getting the conference webcam, which is a 4K webcam, so the picture will be very clear.
Right. Okay. And when we're all sitting spaced out and spread around the room, etc., is this thing going to go in the middle at the top end of the room, or in a corner, sitting an angle outwards, or how are we arranging the room?
It'll go in either the corner or in the middle, where everyone will be able to be on the camera. We still need to make sure we can get everyone in, but we're looking at the conference webcam is a wide angle webcam, so it will easily be able to get everyone in the room regardless of where it is in the room.
Okay. Yeah, no, sounds like a good plan. All about making it work in the short term, and as you say, the kit will be left over for use in the future. So yeah.
Well, it also ticks another box, because even after this COVID thing's gone completely, if someone was housebound or something like that, or for whatever reason, we could still use it then, and they would still, if they told us early enough, they would still be able to talk to us from home. If somebody was disabled and housebound, or for whatever reason. And I think it would tick a box and say that we are trying to be more open with the public, and and let them participate in everything. Because we keep getting kicked and hit with a big stick and saying, you don't tell us this and you don't tell us that. But the more we help them, it becomes less difficult for them to accuse us of that. Brian, you're on mute.
Just following on from what David and Nathan said, it sounds simple enough, but I think we do need to check it out thoroughly, make sure there's no echo or anything like that, you know, before the public come on. I wouldn't like to see any issues on the night when the public's there and saying how incompetent we are. Thank you.
Well, if someone wants to volunteer to be guinea pigs, once Nathan's got all the equipment and got it set up, I'm quite happy. I'm quite sure he would be happy to do a dry run to test it out.
Well, you wouldn't need the full, you don't need 4 or 5 people. Cause
Yeah.
Or cardboard cutouts, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I've got that Howard's proposed that. Do we have a seconder? Right.
All those in favour? Right. Items for a future month's agenda. Don't tell me they're all none.
I think we've got enough standard documents to get through, haven't we?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the date and the time of the next regular meeting, and it will be a regular meeting, is the 1st of June, not the 4th of May. Jonathan.
Thank you for delivering my, well, the COVID testing kit, whoever did that. Was it Gina?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do I need to take, when do I need to take that test?
You could do it on the day of the meeting, or I think possibly the night before.
Right. Okay. Good. So yeah, good. A good outcome. But I'll have to just get myself a mask I can cope to be wearing for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, it's not something I'm looking forward to either, but
Face visors, are they allowed instead of masks?
I think so, yes.
You see them wearing them in shops, and even in the pharmacies, I've seen them wearing them. So
Yeah.
We all do, Jonathan. We wear the visors and masks. So we use them. I can get you a visor from work.
Okay. I think our Cheryl can get us one, but thank you anyway for where she works.
Could always put a goldfish bowl on.
Astronaut helmet, diving helmet.
Good. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, thanks again, Gina.
Okay.
Can I just
Brian?
say, I think you need to check it out, that one with the mask and visor, because I go in to see my mother in Faverdale in the care home, and I think they insist on a mask. You know, some people do have mask and visors, like in shops. I do see them have just visors, but I think you need to check it out.
And a quick question then, for turning up at the next meeting then, if you're going to do it physically, as Jonathan says, you've got the test there, do we have to prove the test? Is it just our word? We've done a test and it's negative? We have to bring it with us and wave it around?
I think your word is enough, and we trust that obviously if you get a positive result that you don't come to the town.
If somebody hasn't done them or got one, presumably they can just have it done at the start of the meeting. Or you're thinking turn up half an hour in advance?
We could, well, what we would say is if anyone hasn't been able, we will try and get them to everyone before the next meeting. But if for some reason someone hasn't been able to do one, We would probably recommend that you come to the meeting slightly early, obviously, so that we can do the tests and get the result before you need to go in.
I'm not sure how many's got the test equipment yet. We got ours. Eugene brought it at tea time.
I've still got David, I've still got yours and Sarah's to deliver, and I've got Mark Chun's to deliver still.
What about Brian Wildman?
No, I think Nathan's got yours.
Yeah, they're still they're on my desk, so they'll be getting delivered tomorrow evening.
Yes.
Thought you had your own supply, Brian, from
I do.
of just about any sort that you've used in your. You should be chief tester and.
Well, I did volunteer, but Naomi come up with other ideas, so that's all right. But it's been noted now.
So just going on from what Jonathan was asking or saying, all we need to do then is take the test at some point during that day. Hopefully it will be negative and we can attend the meeting and appear as normal with a mask. Yes. Are you and Naomi going to go a stage further, or do we not require to do that and to get one of these electronic thermometers and do the thermometer test as well, or are we ignoring that?
We could do. Would anybody have any objections to that?
I've not had that one in shops recently. There was a fad for it, wasn't there, when it was sort of first talked about, but I've not seen that really. I think I saw it once at my dentist about a month or two back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dentist.
Yeah, they also do it when you go for your vaccine as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
They do check it and mark it down.
Mm. It's just an extra check, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we can certainly look at that.
Perhaps Brian's more genned up on that. What do you think, Brian?
I was just thinking, you know, when I've been in industry, in companies, perhaps they get temperature tested when they first arrive in the morning. By the time they've come to me in the setup environment, they don't get tested for temperature, you know, but they could possibly be tested early morning. And just going back to the mask and the face covers, when I was instructing, it was deemed necessary for me to wear the full PPE equipment, which were the gloves, apron, but they insisted that I wear a mask and the face cover when I was instructing them as well.
I'll leave that, Gina, to you and Naomi. If you think we ought to, because they're not expensive, if you think we ought to get a thermometer and do a thermometer check when anyone comes in the building, it's okay with me, because it's not a vast amount of money for one anyway, and it is just an extra check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because on these tests we've got, if you test negative on that and your temperature's okay, I think there's a reasonable chance there's not a lot wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I think that's it. I think that comes to the end of the meeting. So can I thank you all for attending, and hopefully I'll see you all again on the 1st of June, and we'll all be there because we'll all end up with a negative test.
Yeah, thank you.
The annual meeting before then, won't they?
Oh yeah, there will. Yeah, there'll be an annual meeting before then. Yeah. So hopefully everybody will test negative there.